I was standing in my kitchen arranging flowers for the centerpieces when Rosa grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the laundry room. She shut the door, locked it, and pressed her back against it like she was trying to keep the whole world out. "Mrs. Whitfield, you cannot let Lily walk down that aisle." I stared at her. Rosa Gutierrez had worked in our home for 22 years. She'd ironed my husband's shirts the morning he left for the hospital and never came back. She'd held my granddaughter when she was 6 hours old. Rosa did not panic. Rosa did not grab people. Rosa did not lock doors. But right now, her hands were shaking. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. "The ceremony starts in 4 hours." "I know." Her voice cracked. "That's why you need to listen to me right now. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we go any further, drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and if someone you love needs to hear this story, share it with them. One more thing, this story contains some creative elements for storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real people or places is coincidental, but the lessons inside it are very real, and I pray they reach the heart that needs them most. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Eleanor Whitfield. I'm 63 years old. I live in a stone house on Briarwood Lane in Charlotte, North Carolina, the same house where my husband Arthur built his architectural firm from nothing, where we raised our only daughter, Catherine, where Arthur drew his last breath in the upstairs bedroom 3 years ago, with my hand in his and Psalm 23 on his lips. Arthur left behind a legacy Whitfield and Associates, one of the most respected firms in the Southeast. Commercial buildings, university campuses, hospital wings. His name is on structures across 6 states. He also left behind money. Quite a lot of it. Investments, property, insurance, trust funds for our granddaughter Lily. Arthur always said the same thing. "The money is a tool, Eleanor. Protect it like you'd protect family, because that's exactly what it's for." After Arthur died, I ran the firm with our longtime partner, Gerald. Catherine helped with the books. And Lily, sweet Lily, 28 years old with her grandfather's blue eyes and her mother's stubborn optimism, she worked as a pediatric nurse at Mercy Hospital. Lily was the light. The whole family revolved around her warmth. So when Lily came home 14 months ago glowing like a firefly and told me she'd met someone, I wanted to be happy. I tried to be happy. His name is Daniel Mercer. Grandma. He's a financial consultant. He moved here from Chicago 6 months ago. He's kind and smart, and he actually listens when I talk. She showed me a photo on her phone. Handsome, mid-30s. Strong jaw, easy smile, the kind of confidence that fills a room. He wore a nice watch. Not flashy, but expensive enough that I noticed. "How did you meet?" I asked. "At the hospital fundraiser." He was there representing his firm. We started talking about the children's wing expansion, and he got it, Grandma. He understood why it mattered. Arthur's voice echoed in my memory. "Watch what people do with their eyes, Eleanor. Their mouth will say anything." I pushed the thought away. Don't be that grandmother. Don't ruin this for her. But over the next few months, small things nagged at me. Daniel always paid in cash. He never talked about his family in Chicago, said they were complicated, and changed the subject. He knew exactly which questions to ask about the firm, the properties, the trust structure. Once, at Sunday dinner, he asked Catherine point blank how the succession plan worked, who controlled what if something happened to me. Catherine thought he was being thoughtful. I thought he was taking inventory. I mentioned my concerns to Catherine once, just once. "Mom, please! Lily is happy for the first time since Grandpa died. Daniel adores her. Don't be paranoid." So I kept quiet. For months, I kept quiet. That was my first mistake. Now here I was, 11 days before Christmas, the morning of Lily's wedding, locked in a laundry room with Rosa, who was telling me everything I'd feared was true. "How do you know this?" I kept my voice low. Through the walls, I could hear Lily upstairs laughing with her bridesmaids, music playing, the happy chaos of a bride getting ready. Rosa reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a phone, not hers, a cheap prepaid one. 3 weeks ago, I found this in the pocket of his jacket. The gray one he left on the porch chair. It rang while I was bringing it inside. I answered. "You answered someone else's phone?" It was a woman. Mrs. Whitfield. She was crying. She said her name was Karen Mercer. She said Daniel was her husband. She said they have 2 children. The laundry room tilted. I gripped the edge of the dryer. That's not all. Rosa's voice dropped lower. I called her back the next day from my own phone. We talked for an hour. She told me everything. Daniel's real name is Daniel Kern. Mercer is his mother's maiden name. He's been married to Karen for 9 years. They live in Milwaukee, not Chicago. He has a 7-year-old daughter named Hope and a 5-year-old son named Caleb. My chest felt like concrete. Karen said he's done this before. 3 years ago, he got engaged to a woman in Denver, a widow with money. He moved in, got access to her accounts, drained $40,000, and disappeared. Before Denver, there was a woman in Phoenix. Same pattern. Wealthy, recently lost a spouse, vulnerable. Why didn't Karen go to the police? Rosa's face hardened. She did. Twice. He has no criminal record because the women were too ashamed to press charges. They just wanted it over. And Karen stays because of the children. He sends money sometimes. Not enough, but enough that she's afraid if she pushes too hard, he'll vanish and send nothing. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. Do you have proof? Not just a phone call. Something I can hold in my hands. Rosa nodded. She pulled a manila envelope from behind the ironing board. She'd hidden it there for days, waiting for the right moment. Inside, a marriage certificate from Milwaukee County, Daniel James Kern and Karen Ann Foley, married 9 years ago. Photographs. Daniel holding a newborn in a hospital room, Daniel at a birthday party with 2 small children, Daniel and Karen at what looked like a family barbecue, smiling, a real couple with a real life. Printed screenshots of text messages between Daniel and a contact saved as R. The Whitfield Trust is structured through First Carolina Bank. Access requires Eleanor's co-signature, but once married, Lily becomes a secondary trustee. We move fast after the wedding. Another message. 6 months. That's all I need. Then I'm out. My hands trembled, but my mind went cold and sharp. Arthur always said I was at my most dangerous when I went quiet. Where is Daniel right now? I asked. Downstairs in the guest cottage, getting dressed. His groomsmen are with him. And Lily? Upstairs. Hair and makeup. She asked me to bring her tea 20 minutes ago. She's happy, Mrs. Whitfield. She's so happy. Those words nearly broke me. But I held. Rosa, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go to the church early. Take this envelope. Give it to Gerald. He'll be there, setting up the reserved seating. Tell him to keep it sealed until I signal him. Can you do that? Rosa straightened. 22 years of loyalty in her spine. Yes, ma'am. And Rosa, do not let Lily see you leave. Use the back gate. She nodded once, tucked the envelope into her coat, unlocked the door, and slipped out through the kitchen. I stood alone in the laundry room listening to my granddaughter's laughter floating down from upstairs and felt my heart split clean in 2. I had 4 hours to decide how to destroy the happiest day of her life, to save her from something worse. I walked upstairs. Each step felt like climbing a mountain. The hallway smelled like hairspray and perfume and the vanilla candles Lily loved. Her bedroom door was open. 3 bridesmaids hovered around her, one adjusting her veil, one taking photos, one holding a champagne glass. And there was Lily. My God, she was beautiful. The dress was ivory lace, fitted at the waist, flowing soft at the hem. Her hair was swept up with small white flowers tucked in. Arthur's mother's pearl earrings caught the light. She looked like a painting. Grandma! She spotted me in the doorway and her whole face lit up. Come in! What do you think? Do I look okay? I walked over, took her hands. They were warm and trembling slightly, the good kind of trembling, the excited kind. You look perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect. I wish Grandpa could see me. Her eyes glistened. He always said I'd be the most beautiful bride in North Carolina. He was right. My voice almost cracked. Almost. Lily, I need you to know something. What? No matter what happens today, no matter what, I love you more than anything in this world. And everything I do to protect you. She laughed softly, confused. Grandma, you're scaring me. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be the best day ever. I squeezed her hands, kissed her forehead, and left the room before she could see my tears. In my bedroom, I sat on the edge of the bed Arthur's side and stared at his photograph on the nightstand, the one from our 30th anniversary. He was laughing at something I'd said, head thrown back, eyes crinkled. "Tell me I'm doing the right thing," I whispered. "Tell me she won't hate me." The photograph didn't answer, but I could almost hear Arthur's voice, the way he sounded when things got serious. "Protect the ones you love, Eleanor, even when it costs you everything, especially then." I stood up, smoothed my dress, navy blue, the same shade I'd worn to Arthur's funeral, put on the diamond studs he'd given me for our 20th anniversary, picked up my purse. It was time. The church was street. Andrew's Episcopal, the same church where Arthur and I married 41 years ago, where Lily was baptized, where we held Arthur's memorial. Old stone walls, tall stained glass, wooden pews polished by generations. The December light came through the windows pale and golden, and someone had draped evergreen garlands along every aisle, white poinsettias everywhere. It was stunning, everything Lily had dreamed. I arrived early. Gerald was already there, standing near the vestibule, the envelope visible in his inside jacket pocket. He caught my eye. I gave him a small nod. His face was grim. He'd looked inside. "Eleanor, are you sure about this? Are you sure about what's in that envelope?" He paused. "I had my assistant verify the marriage certificate with Milwaukee County this morning. It's legitimate." "Then I'm sure." Guests began arriving. Friends, neighbors, colleagues from the firm, Arthur's old clients, Lily's co-workers from the hospital, everyone smiling, hugging, commenting on the decorations. Someone pressed my hand and said, "Arthur would be so proud today." I smiled. I nodded. I said thank you. My face was a mask, and behind it, my heart was hammering. Daniel arrived with his groomsmen. I watched him cross the parking lot, confident stride, perfect suit, that easy smile that had fooled everyone for 14 months. He shook hands with guests, clapped his best man on the shoulder, laughed at something someone said. He looked every bit the charming groom. He caught my eye and walked over. "Mrs. Whitfield, you look wonderful. Lily's going to be so happy you're here." "I wouldn't miss it," I said evenly. He squeezed my arm. "I want you to know how much your family means to me. I promise I'll take care of her." I looked into his eyes. Arthur was right. You can see it in the eyes if you know what to look for. Daniel's eyes were calculating, even as his mouth smiled, measuring me, wondering what I knew. "I'm sure you will," I said. He walked away. My hands were steady, but my pulse was thunder. At 2:45, the organist began to play. Guests took their seats. Daniel stood at the altar with Reverend Matthews, hands clasped, looking exactly like a man in love. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle one by one. Catherine sat beside me in the front pew, tears already forming. "Mom, I can't believe our baby is getting married." I took her hand, held it tight. The bridal march began. The doors at the back of the church opened, and there was Lily. Walking alone, she'd insisted, said she wanted to walk herself down the aisle to honor Grandpa's memory, carrying his photograph tucked into her bouquet. Every guest stood. Gasps and whispers filled the church. She was radiant, a vision. Daniel's face transformed. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He pressed his hand to his chest. He looked like a man watching his entire future walk toward him. For a moment, just one moment, I almost doubted everything. Maybe Rosa was wrong. Maybe Karen lied. Maybe the documents were fake. Maybe this man really did love my granddaughter. Then I saw his left hand drop to his side. His fingers tapped against his thigh, 3 quick taps. A signal? A nervous habit? No. I followed his gaze for just a fraction of a second. It flicked toward the side entrance, where a man I didn't recognize stood in a dark coat, watching. The man gave the slightest nod. My doubt evaporated. Lily reached the altar. Daniel took her hand. Reverend Matthews began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Lily Catherine Whitfield and Daniel James Mercer in holy matrimony." The name Mercer hit me like a slap. A stolen name for a stolen life. The Reverend continued. "Readings from Corinthians. Prayers. The traditional words about love, trust, honor. Each one felt like a wound. Catherine squeezed my hand, weeping with joy. I squeezed back, weeping for a different reason entirely. Then it came, the words I'd been waiting for. If anyone here knows a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. 2 seconds. 3. Daniel's shoulders relaxed slightly. Lily smiled up at him. The whole church held its breath in that familiar, ceremonial pause that no one ever fills. I stood. The sound of my movement, the creak of the pew, the rustle of fabric echoed through the stone church like a gunshot. Every head turned. I object. The church erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Someone dropped a hymnal. Catherine's hand went limp in shock. "Mom?" Catherine's voice was barely audible. "What are you doing?" Lily's face went white. "Grandma?" Daniel's expression shifted, not shock, not confusion, but something colder. Recognition. The look of a man whose contingency plan just activated. I walked toward the altar. My heels clicked against the stone floor. 200 pairs of eyes followed me. I felt every single one, but I kept my gaze on Lily. "Sweetheart, I am so sorry, but this wedding cannot happen." Lily's voice trembled. "Grandma, please, not here. Whatever it is, we can talk about it later. Please don't do this." "There is no later, Lily. If you say, 'I do' today, you will be committing yourself to a man who is already married." The church exploded, voices overlapping, people standing, phones coming out. Catherine grabbed my arm. "Mom, have you lost your mind?" Daniel stepped forward, hands raised, voice smooth and controlled. "Mrs. Whitfield, I don't know what you've been told, but this is clearly a misunderstanding. Maybe we should step into the vestry and—" "There is no misunderstanding." I turned to Gerald. He was already on his feet, walking toward us, the envelope in his hand. "Gerald, please." Gerald reached me, opened the envelope, and handed me the marriage certificate. I held it up. Daniel James Kern, not Mercer. Kern married Karen Ann Foley 9 years ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They have 2 children, a 7-year-old daughter named Hope and a 5-year-old son named Caleb. The silence that followed was absolute. Not a whisper, not a breath. Lily looked at Daniel, her bouquet trembling, Arthur's photograph tucked among the flowers. "Daniel, tell me she's wrong. Tell me right now this isn't true." Daniel's mask held for 3 more seconds. Then it cracked, not with tears or remorse, with calculation. His eyes darted to the side entrance. The man in the dark coat was gone. "Lily, listen to me. Tell me you're not married." Her voice broke on the last word. "Tell me Hope and Caleb don't exist. Tell me your name is Daniel Mercer." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Gerald spoke into the silence, his voice steady and legal. "I verified the marriage certificate with Milwaukee County at 9 o'clock this morning. It is authentic and currently active. There is no record of divorce." Catherine collapsed back into the pew, hand over her mouth. A voice came from the back of the church, thin, shaking, but determined. "He's telling the truth. All of it." Every head turned. A woman stood at the entrance, mid-30s, brown hair, exhausted face. She wore a simple coat over a plain dress, and she held the hands of 2 small children. The girl had Daniel's jaw. The boy had his eyes. Karen Kern walked down the aisle with Hope and Caleb on either side of her. The little girl looked around at the flowers and decorations with wide, confused eyes. "Daddy?" Hope's voice carried through the silent church. "Daddy, why are you wearing that fancy suit? Are you in a play?" The church shattered into noise. Voices. Gasps. Someone started crying. A man in the 3rd row stood up and said, "Good Lord," loud enough that it echoed off the stone walls. Karen stopped halfway down the aisle. She looked at Lily with genuine sorrow. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do this here, but your grandmother's housekeeper found me 3 weeks ago. She told me what was happening. I drove 11 hours from Milwaukee because you deserved to know before you made the worst mistake of your life." Lily turned to Daniel. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice went hard in a way I'd never heard before. 9 years? You have children? You've been married this entire time?" Daniel's composure finally broke, not into remorse, into anger. "You don't understand. Karen and I have been separated for—" "You are not separated." Karen's voice cut like glass. "You left. 6 months ago, you left in the middle of the night. You took $8,000 from our savings account." Hope cried for 2 weeks asking where her daddy went. "You sent one text message. One. It said, 'I need space.' And now I find out you're here, in North Carolina, about to marry someone else and steal from her family." She held up her phone, screen facing out, though only the first few rows could see it. "I have text messages, bank records, I have everything." Gerald was already moving. He pulled out his own phone, stepped to the side, spoke quietly to someone. Daniel took a step backward, away from the altar. His best man, a man I now realized was probably not even a real friend, just a prop in this performance, looked at Daniel with dawning horror. "Dude, what the hell? Is this real?" Daniel said nothing. He looked at the side door again. "Don't bother," I said calmly. "The man you signaled left 5 minutes ago. And there are 2 officers from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police waiting in the parking lot," Gerald called them an hour ago. Daniel's face went gray. Lily pulled Arthur's photograph from her bouquet. She held it against her chest with both hands, like a shield. Her voice came out in a whisper that somehow filled the whole church. "I almost married you. I almost gave you everything. My grandfather's name, my grandmother's trust, my whole heart." She looked at me. "You knew. This morning?" "Rosa told me this morning. She found the proof 3 weeks ago and contacted Karen herself to verify everything." 3 weeks? Lily's voice cracked. "You carried this for 3 weeks and didn't tell me?" Rosa's voice came from near the vestibule, steady and firm. "I wanted to tell you immediately, but we needed proof you couldn't deny. We needed Karen. We needed documents that would hold up. I'm sorry it took so long, Mija. Every day I didn't tell you felt like a sin." Lily closed her eyes. Tears fell. When she opened them, she looked at me, and I saw it not anger, not yet. Understanding. The terrible understanding that the people who love you sometimes have to hurt you to save you. 2 officers entered through the main doors, calm and professional. "Daniel Kern?" the first officer said. Daniel didn't run. He didn't fight. The calculation had drained out of him. He just stood there in his perfect suit at the altar of a church that wasn't his, surrounded by a life that wasn't his, and said nothing. "You're under arrest for marriage fraud, identity theft, and interstate wire fraud. You have the right to remain silent." The handcuffs clicked. Daniel was led down the aisle past 200 silent witnesses, past Karen and his 2 children, past the poinsettias and evergreen garlands, and all the beauty that was supposed to celebrate a beginning. Hope tugged Karen's hand. "Mommy, where are they taking Daddy?" Karen knelt down, pulled both children close. "Daddy has to go talk to some people, baby. It's going to be okay." Lily stood at the altar alone. The bouquet had fallen. White roses scattered across the stone floor. Arthur's photograph lay among them, face up, his laughing eyes looking at the ceiling of the church where he'd married me 41 years ago. I walked to my granddaughter. I didn't say anything. I just opened my arms. She fell into them and sobbed. Not delicate crying. The raw, gutting sobs of someone whose entire world had just been demolished in front of everyone she knew. I held her. Catherine came and wrapped her arms around both of us. Rosa appeared and placed her hand on Lily's back. 4 women standing at an altar that was supposed to host a wedding, holding each other up instead. Gerald quietly asked the guests to leave. They filed out slowly, some crying, some stunned, most just silent. A few stopped to touch Lily's shoulder. Her friend from the hospital hugged her for a long time without saying a word. When the church was empty, Lily pulled back. Her makeup was destroyed. The veil hung crooked. But her eyes, Arthur's eyes, were clear. How did Rosa find out? His jacket pocket. A second phone, Karen's number. Lily almost laughed. Almost. A jacket pocket. The whole thing fell apart because of a jacket pocket. "The truth doesn't need a grand entrance," I said. "It just needs one crack." "Did he ever love me?" she asked. "Even a little?" I held her gaze. "I don't know, sweetheart. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are loved. By me By your mother, by Rosa, by everyone who was in this room today and chose to stay. Lily looked at the scattered roses on the floor, at her grandfather's photograph. She bent down, picked it up, held it against her heart. Let's go home, Grandma. And we did. Together. 4 months later, spring had come to Charlotte. The dogwoods were blooming along Briarwood Lane, the way they always did, the way Arthur used to say proved that God was an architect. I sat in my office, afternoon sun warming my shoulders, when Lily knocked and came in carrying 2 cups of tea. She set one in front of me, sat in the chair across my desk, and tucked her legs beneath her, the way she'd done since she was a little girl. "How are you doing, sweetheart?" "Really?" She sipped her tea, thinking. Better. Not great every day, but better. Dr. Simmons says I'm making progress. I actually slept through the whole night last week for the first time since December. That's wonderful. I started volunteering at the women's shelter on Tuesdays. Talking to women who've been through fraud, financial abuse, it helps to feel useful. She paused. A woman came in last week. Her story was almost identical to mine. Same playbook. Charming stranger, dead spouse, money. She didn't have a Rosa, though. She lost everything. My chest tightened. "I'm glad you're helping. Grandma, I need to tell you something." She set down her tea. "I owe you an apology." "For what? For the week after the wedding?" "When I wouldn't talk to you. When I said you humiliated me in front of everyone. When I said you should have told me privately." I shook my head. "You had every right to feel that way." "No, I didn't. Mom told me she said you tried to warn her months ago. She said you noticed things about Daniel that nobody else noticed, and she told you to stop being paranoid." Lily's voice thickened. "If you had told me privately the night before, I would have called Daniel. He would have denied it. He would have convinced me you were jealous or confused or losing your mind, and I would have walked down that aisle anyway." She was right. I'd known it then. I knew it now. "You did the only thing that would actually work," Lily continued. "You made it impossible to deny. Karen being there, the children, the documents, all of it in front of witnesses so he couldn't twist the story later. You didn't humiliate me. You freed me." I reached across the desk and took her hand. "Your grandfather told me something once," I said. "He said protecting the people you love sometimes means being the villain in their story for a while. As long as you end up being the truth." Lily smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in months. "That sounds exactly like Grandpa. What about the legal situation?" "The prosecutor called yesterday. Daniel, his real name is Daniel Kern, pled guilty. Fraud, bigamy, identity theft across 3 states. 7 years. The women in Denver and Phoenix both came forward after they heard about our case. He won't be doing this to anyone else." "And Karen?" "She's okay. She filed for divorce. I actually talk to her sometimes. She's a good person who got trapped. I helped connect her with a family attorney Gerald recommended. And Hope sent me a drawing last week." Lily pulled out her phone and showed me a child's crayon drawing of a house with a big sun and flowers. At the bottom, in wobbly letters, "Thank you, nice lady." My eyes burned. "She calls me the nice lady at the church," Lily said. "Just like Zoe." She caught herself. "I mean, she doesn't know the whole story. She just remembers the pretty church and the flowers." I squeezed her hand. "That child is innocent. None of this was her fault." "I know." Lily stood, came around the desk, and hugged me. Not the desperate, broken hug from the church. A strong one, a grateful one. "Thank you, Grandma. For being brave when I needed you to be. For trusting Rosa. For not staying quiet even though you knew I might hate you for it. I would risk your anger every single day, Lily, but I could never risk your future." She pulled back, wiped her eyes, and grinned. "I'm going to go see Rosa. She's making empanadas, and she gets offended if I'm late." After Lily left, I sat alone in the quiet office. Arthur's photograph watched me from the shelf. The one from our anniversary, head thrown back, laughing. "We did it, Arthur," I whispered. "She's going to be okay." A mother's instinct. A grandmother's courage, a housekeeper's loyalty. That's what it took to stop a man who thought he could build a future on stolen names and borrowed lies. Daniel Kern believed that if he could just reach that altar, just hear Lily say, "I do," everything would fall into place. He'd have access to the trust, the firm, the accounts, and he'd vanish before anyone figured out the truth. He'd done it before. Twice. He expected it to work again because it always had. He didn't account for Rosa answering a phone that wasn't hers. He didn't account for Karen driving 11 hours with 2 children because a stranger asked her to be brave. He didn't account for a 63-year-old grandmother who'd rather burn down her granddaughter's happiest day than watch her walk into a trap. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, maybe a mother wondering if she should speak up, maybe a grandmother whose instinct is telling her something isn't right. Comment below. Have you ever had to make a painful choice to protect someone you love? Tell me your story. I want to hear it. Proverbs 12:19 says, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Daniel's lies lasted 14 months. The truth that stopped him took less than 30 seconds to speak. One sentence. 2 words. I object. Trust your instincts. Protect the people you love. And never be afraid to speak truth, even when it means standing alone in a room full of people who want to believe the lie. Because one painful moment of honesty will always be worth more than a lifetime of beautiful deception. And to you listening right now, remember this. I stood in that church because God gave me the courage to open my mouth when silence would have been easier. Rosa answered that phone because loyalty is more than a job, it's a calling. Karen drove 11 hours because even a broken heart can still do the right thing. And Lily survived because she was surrounded by people who loved her enough to tell her the truth even when it shattered everything. Don't wait. If your heart is telling you something is wrong, listen to it. Don't do what I did for 14 months. Don't stay quiet because you're afraid of being called paranoid or difficult or overprotective. That instinct is a gift. Use it. These family drama stories happen every single day. These grandmother stories are real, and the courage to speak up that comes from above. Thank you for staying with me until the end. God bless you.